The teacups were still warm. The almond cookies sat untouched. 7 o'clock came and did not bring a key in the lock. Silence arrived instead, the kind that settles into bone when something is over. My name is Vivian Carter. For 15 years, I built a life with a man who never raised his voice, never missed a Sunday bouquet, never let a bill come due. On Thursday, he died. On Friday, we buried him. On Saturday, I found the key he never let me use. The door it opened did not lead to tools or dust. It led to a wall of photographs, a second family, a private firm with a friendly name, and a son with my husband's eyes who stepped from the doorway and said, "Thomas Carter was my father." This is not the story of a scream. It is the story of a code hidden in a sapphire clasp, a vault behind a painting, a flash drive with a confession, and the day a quiet widow decided paper would speak louder than grief. The house held the shape of him, Sunday flowers still drinking on the counter, 2 cups on the tray because there had always been 2. I kept looking at the door as if time might be late, not gone. The doctor had said the words with a careful voice. Massive myocardial infarction, he went quickly. People brought casseroles wrapped in condolences. I nodded, drank nothing, ate nothing, and kept moving from room to room like motion could make sense. My sister Rachel arrived in perfume and silk sympathy. Her hug lasted a second too long. Later, at my sink, she said it like a question that was not a question. "Thomas loaned me money. We should settle now that you're taken care of." I stared. She smiled. "Oh, he did not tell you." That night, I walked the house like a museum. Bookshelves he dusted on Saturdays, the framed photograph of 2 people who suddenly felt like actors. On the hall table lay his keys, house, office, car, familiar teeth, and then one cut different, the garage key. The one I had asked about once and was told with a gentle smile, "Nothing there you would like." Our marriage had been full of rooms I did not enter. Comfort can do that. Politeness can too. Morning brought a choice. I took the key and drove. The address sat in the old industrial district where weeds wrote their own language through cracked asphalt. He came here every Thursday. I had never asked why. The metal door fought the turn, then gave. I stepped into the smell of oil and dust and switched on the light. It was not a garage. Fluorescence trembled awake over walls packed with photographs, maps, clippings, and charts. An entire life diagrammed in paper. In the photos, he was not in suits. He wore worn denim, soft shirts, hair a little wild. His posture had that looseness you can only borrow from truth. In almost every frame was the same woman. Dark hair, quick eyes, a hand on his sleeve like she had always known it was hers to hold. There were dates on the backs in his hand. 7 years, 5, 3, 1. August of last year. On that day, I had cooked his favorite dinner and texted, "Are you close?" In his picture, he sat with that woman and a man in his early 30s. All 3 smiling like a unit. On the back, Isabelle and Logan. August. His handwriting did not stutter. I reached for the desk to steady a world that had stopped pretending. Files waited in neat stacks. Bank transfers, overseas correspondences, a private company I had never heard of, Mercury South Holdings, and a medical report, the header bright as a siren. Ischemic heart disease, stage 3, risk of arrest high. Dated less than 2 months before his death. He had known. I set it into the room to see if it sounded different aloud. He knew. Footsteps behind me, soft, careful. I turned. The young man from the photograph stood in the doorway. Same jaw, same eyes. Calm voice, careful as if walking through glass. "Vivian Carter?" he asked. "I thought you might come," he said, stepping in. "I am Logan. Thomas Carter was my father." The floor did not fall away. It moved 1 inch to the left, and everything with it. Words came late. "You really his son?" "Yes." No apology in it. "And I am sorry. Not for existing, for this." "How long have you known about me?" "My whole life." He was not cruel when he said it, just true. He kept us separate. My mother Isabelle agreed. After she died last year, the wall started to crack. Died. Another piece of the puzzle with no edges. "Why are you here?" I asked. He took a folded document from his bag and held it out. "He gave me this 2 weeks before he died. Said the official will would go to you. This one was insurance." The paper opened to his handwriting. Lines dividing assets. A mention of Logan. A company named Mercury South Holdings. And a final line. "Access to remaining documents secured in office vault. Code linked to personal item gifted to V." My hand went to my collarbone for a necklace I had left in its box. Sapphire, given 2 nights before he died. "So the gift was a key," I said. The word tasted like metal. "What is Mercury South?" I asked. "One of his private firms," Logan said. "Not in his public filings. He moved money through it. After my mother died, I dug. There were accounts in my name I never opened. He was trying to secure something for you. For me. For us." "Us," I repeated, because the syllable had changed. "There are people he did not trust," Logan added. "People who might come looking for leverage." "Names?" "He never said. Only that they would not ask nicely." The room now felt less like a shrine and more like a warning. I took one last look at the photographs. The smile I had not seen in years lived in all of them. "I need to get the necklace," I said. "And I need tea. And a friend." "May I come?" he asked. I nodded. Whether I wanted this or not, it had already become ours. I did not go home first. I went to Claire. In 20 minutes, I was on her sofa, hands around a mug I did not drink, the Sapphire in its velvet box between us like something live. Claire listened without edits. The garage, the photos, the sun, the will that was not. She did not say, "I told you." She said, "I am here," and pressed my palm until I felt anchored. Answers next. Anger keeps its own schedule. It sent me to Rachel. Her building was the kind that has valet and fresh orchids, odd for someone who always texted about rent. She opened the door in silk and a perfect face. "If it is not my grieving sister," she said, smiling around a glass of wine. The living room carried a framed photo, Thomas and Rachel, 5 years ago, laughing with champagne. "What is this?" I asked. "Holiday party," she said lightly. "You were tired. He insisted I come." "How well did you and my husband get along?" I asked, full face now. She refilled her glass. "Fine," she said, and then, softly, "You want the truth?" She set the glass down and placed her hand on her stomach. "I am pregnant," she said. "It is Thomas's." Silence broke like a glass, and then I did. My hand moved before permission. The slap was small and useless, and still the only honest thing in the room. She did not cry. She smiled. "There she is," she said. "Not perfect. Real. You slept with my husband. You had the routine," she said. "I was the escape." Her voice went sharp. "Do not look surprised. You got the house, the dinners at 7. I got the pieces. He came to me with the rest. You stole everything." "I took what showed up," she said. "That baby is family, whether you like it or not." The anger drained and left clarity. "I will honor what he left in his will. For the child," I said. "Not for you." "Do you mean that?" she asked, the first softness all night. "I do not know what I mean," I said. "I know I am done here." I left to the sound of glass under my shoes and my name bending in her mouth. Back at Claire's, I did what sleep asked and could not. Morning brought Logan with a car and Claire with a coat. "You are not opening a vault alone," she said. "That is how movies start badly." Thomas's so-called satellite office was glass and steel on the 14th floor. The receptionist did not look up. The nameplate was the company I had never heard, Mercury South Holdings. Logan had a keycard. "Listed as co-owner," he said. Of course he was. The office held no photographs of me. It held no photographs at all. Behind the desk hung a large abstract painting the color of polished money. "The safe," Logan said, nodding. I lifted the Sapphire. The clasp twisted counterclockwise and clicked. A slim metal plate slid free, etched with numbers. Logan fed it into a concealed slot. A beep, and the wall loosened. The safe door opened on paper, not cash. Documents. A sleek black flash drive, a small wooden box, a single silver key tagged Federal Trust. Logan took the files. "International banks," he murmured. "Offshore ladders, not just hiding, moving." I opened the box. A simple ring, a small diamond. Inside, an inscription. N always, not V. For a second, the room did not have air. "He bought her a ring," I said. Maybe he asked. Maybe he planned to. The thought did not stab. It settled like a verdict. Logan handed me a folded letter addressed to me in his steady hand. "Vivian, if you are reading this, I am gone. I was selfish. I built 2 lives because I could not give up either. I loved you the only way I knew. I am leaving you access and truth. Use them, burn them, bury them. It is your choice. Forgive me if you can." I passed it to Claire. She read it once and did not swear for me. We left the office without speaking. Silence can be a seatbelt. That night, a man named Gordon called to say he had been a business associate and that some files concerned him, and would I meet to return what belonged to him? "No," I said. He promised others would not be so polite. The line went dead. Morning brought Logan pacing with his own note. "Victor Crane called me," he said. "He says the money was his to begin with. He wants it back by week's end." "Or?" I asked. "He did not say," Logan replied. "He did not need to." We still had one key. Federal Trust. "Whatever is in that box," I said, "is the piece he could not keep in his head." Claire looked at me with that face she wears when she knows I am going to do the thing either way. "Then go," she said. "I will wait in the car and rehearse a crying scene in case banking needs theater." The vault manager did not blink at the tag. "Has not been accessed in years," he said. "Corporate shield." We followed him through cold doors to a small room where he handed us gloves and left. The key turned like it had been waiting. Inside lay 1 manila folder and 1 photograph. The photo? Thomas, Logan, and Gordon in front of a black SUV, arms crossed, laughing. Behind them, a man I recognized only from how my stomach reacted to his name. Victor Crane. They were not just colleagues, I said. They were a team. Logan opened the folder. Shell companies, payoffs, signatures that belonged to men who liked to call themselves sovereign. One sheet printed in red. Crane Blackmail Insurance. Names, dates, accounts. This was not leverage. It was a fuse. He kept proof, I said, of everything. "And he gave it to us," Logan said, "which is also everything." We left the bank and went straight to a lawyer who had done my father's probate and did not enjoy drama. Marcus Doyle listened the way good attorneys do, still, grave, measuring. "Not asking you to press charges," I said. "Not yet. I want insurance." He nodded. "We will copy to cloud and paper. 3 locations, one with me, one with you, one with someone unconnected." Claire raised her hand without smiling. Me. By dusk, the files were scanned, the copies in envelopes, the originals in a safe that was his, not Thomas's. Marcus drafted a letter. I added a line by hand. Trime. The courier delivered it to Gordon's office. He called within 15 minutes. "You are in over your head," he said through teeth. "You do not know who you are talking to." "You are right," I said quietly. "I do not care. One call to the taxmen, one to the people who do not need warrants where you keep your money. Do not test me." He hung up. An hour later, Crane called with a voice meant to sound like silk. It sounded like a net. I told him what I told the other. I have nothing left to lose, and that makes me dangerous. He did not laugh. Logan and I sat on Claire's porch that night with the flash drive between us and a backup buried in a planter like an odd little seed. "I did not know he could be this," Logan said. "He was this and more," I said. "And also the man who made tea at 7. Both can be true. Only one is useful now." We waited 2 days before opening the drive. Waiting can be a kind of prayer when you do not believe in the other kind. Claire brought tea. Logan sat close enough to tell me he would stay if I asked, and leave if I needed him to. I clicked. 1 folder, For Vivian. 1 file, dated 10 days before he died. He looked older in the frame than the man I buried. Shirt wrinkled, eyes tired in a way that cannot be fixed by sleep. He leaned in. "Vivian," he said, "if you are watching, I did not make it, or I ran out of time. You were not the one I needed to hide from. You were the one I wanted to protect. I waited too long. Someone you trust is not safe." He looked straight through the lens. "It is Rachel," he said. "She was not an accident. She planned this. When I tried to end it, she threatened to take everything public, the money, the shells, the pieces I buried to keep you clear." He swallowed. "I think she killed Isabelle." The room rearranged itself. He continued, voice unsteady. "I cannot prove it. The timing was perfect. Isabelle had packed for Lisbon. 1 car crash. Brakes failed. Serviced the day before. Rachel knew she was pregnant. Isabelle did not." Claire covered her mouth. Logan's hands went into fists and stayed. "I tried to fix what I could," he said. "Moved money, made backups, left you a way out. If you walk away, do it. If you fight, do not do it alone." The screen went black. We did not move for a long time. I could feel the house listening. Rachel did not know I had watched the video when I invited her to brunch. She wore pale blue and a practiced glow. "He kicks when I drink orange juice," she said with a laugh I no longer recognized. I smiled the way wolves do in fables, kindly. We sat on Claire's porch. Logan stayed inside. Claire poured sweet tea and left us in a quiet that was not friendly. "I am glad you called," Rachel said. "I was worried you were angry." "Why would I be angry?" I asked. "Because my husband was sleeping with my sister? Or because he left you out of the paper that matters?" She blinked. The first crack. "Vivian, he loved you," she tried. "No," I said. "He pitied me. He feared you." I set the flash drive on the table between us. She looked at it the way people look at spiders. "I know about the accounts. I know he planned to leave you. I know about Isabelle." "You cannot prove anything," she said, but her voice had lost its heel. "I do not have to," I said, standing. "I am not going to court. I am not playing a game you think you can win. I am going to walk away. You can have what you wanted. The money you can reach, the lies you can manage, the silence you will hate." "You think that scares me?" she asked, rising too. "No," I said, "but it will." That afternoon, I gave Marcus the drive with a signed instruction. If anything happens to me, it goes everywhere. Press, tax, and the people without borders. He nodded. Simple is powerful. I went home, touched the door frames and the scuffed floorboards we never fixed, packed 1 suitcase, left the rest. Locked the garage on my way out, not to hide, but to mark the end. 1 week later, I boarded a flight west. A small cottage with a mountain behind it waited with a lease that had only my name. New bank, new locks, new rules. I mailed Claire a spare key and Logan the scholarship form we had set up for a fund in his mother's name. I set the Sapphire in a drawer. Not a talisman, not a curse, a lesson. Outside, the air tasted like starting. Savannah wore its history on brick and leaf. We parked under live oaks that looked like they had heard every secret the coast could carry. Edward Holloway answered the door before we knocked. Tall, linen shirt, eyes that had refused many easy lies. "You are Vivian," he said, like a fact. "And you are Logan. You knew we would come?" I asked. "Thomas said, if it all comes apart, they will find you," Edward replied. He stepped back. "Come in." His house smelled like paper and pipe smoke, books from floor to ceiling, a piano polished more than played. He left the room and returned with a sealed envelope. "He left this with me," Edward said. "I was to open it only if both of you stood in this room together." We did. Inside lay a short letter in Thomas's hand and a second will. The letter was plain, no ornaments, just apologies without adjectives and instructions without riddles. The will was different from the official one I had seen. It named the unborn child Rachel carried. It assigned a quarter of his private savings held offshore, unspecified accounts, to that child in trust until the age of 21. I sat back. The room tilted, then leveled. "He planned for this," I said. "Even this? Why name the child and not the mother?" I asked. "Because he trusted the child," Edward said gently, "not the mother." Logan leaned forward. "So Rachel cannot touch that money?" "Not legally," Edward said, "not without breaching the trust terms. If she tries, you use whatever else Thomas left. He told me there were backups." I nodded toward the flash drive in my bag. "There are." Edward studied us for a beat. "You two have something Thomas never managed. Alignment," he said. "If you choose to use it clean." "What would you do?" I asked. "Separate the stories," he said. "Grief is one story. Crime is another. Do not let one blur the other." He poured tea into cups that had seen older storms. "One more thing," he added. "Thomas said if you needed a lawyer who does not panic, call Marcus Doyle." He slid a card across the table and smiled when I laughed. "He is still that man," I said. We left Savannah with the envelope, the will, and a sentence I did not know I needed. Separate the stories. On the drive back, rain stitched the sky to the road. Logan watched trees flick past. "He planned for a child," he said softly. "He did not plan for us to meet like this." "No," I said, "but here we are." Back in Charleston, we scanned the second will into Marcus's system and secured the original in his fire safe. Marcus read the clause twice, then looked up. "This keeps Rachel out," he said, calm as a ledger. "We will file it under seal. If she tries anything, we have standing, and we have teeth." "Teeth?" Claire asked. "Receipts," Marcus translated, smiling without showing it. "The court-friendly kind." By evening, the house in my name felt less like a stage set and more like a door I could choose to lock. I ate toast at the kitchen counter, butter, salt, something simple my body could understand. Then I slept for the first time without waking at every noise. Morning brought a message from Edward. 4 words. "You did it right." I made tea for one and let that sentence be my companion. We moved from reaction to plan. Marcus helped us draw it like a clean blueprint. First, duplicate everything. Digital copies in 3 places, paper copies in 3 places. 1 set with Marcus, 1 set with me, 1 set with someone unconnected. Claire volunteered and installed a small safe in her hall closet. "It holds the folder and 3 jars of jam," she said. "Both are important." Second, formal notice. Marcus sent a measured letter to Gordon and to Crane. No threats, no drama, just facts. "We have custody of specific records. Any contact outside counsel will be recorded and considered harassment. Any attempt at intimidation will trigger disclosures to tax authorities and agencies with wider maps." Third, Insurance. We met with a retired federal agent who consults on corporate fraud. He looked at the spreadsheets like a man reading weather. If this breaks open, it will not be a storm. It will be a season, he said. Your best defense is boring consistency. Log every contact. Answer only through counsel. Do not improvise. Can we file a protective notice? I asked. You already have, he said, nodding at Marcus. By the time people like Crane read, the clock has started. Fourth, family. I texted Rachel 2 lines. A trust has been established for the child. You cannot access it. Do not contact me. All communications through counsel. She typed for a long time, then stopped. Silence can be the only kind answer left. Fifth, Logan. We met at Claire's table, not the porch. Paper between us. He would handle the audit trail of Mercury South with Marcus's help. I would handle estate housekeeping and the slow undoing of joint accounts that had names I no longer wore. We would not meet alone with anyone connected to Thomas's team. We would not meet anywhere without cameras and daylight. That afternoon, Gordon called Marcus instead of me. Progress. Marcus placed him on speaker while we listened. You have materials that do not belong to your client, Gordon began. They belong to the estate and to my client as custodian, Marcus replied. And to the authorities if compelled. You are in over your head. Marcus chuckled once. I am bald. I have adapted. Silence. Then, what do you want? To be left alone, Marcus said. To ensure the trust terms for an unborn child are honored. To ensure no one who threatened a widow ever works in finance again. You cannot prove threats. You are recorded, Marcus said. Please assume every call is a deposition. Click. Crane's counsel sent an email instead of a call. It was long on adjectives and short on nouns. Marcus replied with 2 sentences and 3 attachments. The attachments were enough. By Friday, the detective assigned to Elder Financial Abuse reached out. He had received an anonymous tip with excerpts of the folder. Anonymous had good timing and a sense of justice. We met at the precinct with Marcus present. I told the truth and only the truth. Logan did the same. The detective thanked us and said the line I had been waiting to hear. You do not need to be a hero. You just need to be consistent. That night, Logan and I walked the Battery in quiet. He stopped by the water and said, Do you hate him? I thought about tea at 7. I thought about a ring with N inside. I thought about a flash drive that told the worst truths and the most useful ones. I do not, I said. I hate what he chose. Logan nodded. Me too. We stood until the air grew cool and the city lights decided to come on. Grief and anger can share a bench if you let them sit without talking. Back home, I wrote 3 sentences on an index card and taped it inside the kitchen cabinet. Choose law over lore. Choose receipts over rage. Choose the future you can sign. When the next call came, I was ready to let the voicemail do the listening. Colorado was a small cottage under a big sky. I signed the lease with a pen that had found other endings and deserved this one. The air tasted like pine and possibility. The first week, I did only ordinary things. New bank, new phone number, new locks, a kettle that sang, a thrifted table that could take a scar. I mailed Claire a spare key and a postcard that said, I can see the mountain from my sink. Marcus handled filings by email and courier. He updated me with short, humane summaries. Protective order acknowledged. Second will filed under seal. Crane counsel quiet. Gordon counsel noisier but brief. Rachel sent one message through her attorney. It was simple, a request for support. Marcus drafted a response with 4 conditions. 1. Prenatal care receipts submitted monthly, paid directly to providers. 2. No public statements about me, Thomas, or the estate. A breach voids support. 3. Immediate notice of birth, with paternity testing arranged without drama. 4. A trust update every quarter, with the funds untouchable until the child turns 21, per the sealed will. Rachel agreed because money attaches people to paper when pride would rather talk. Logan sent a photo of himself standing outside a community center named for his mother. The caption read, "Scholarship Fund paperwork signed, for students who need a second chance after grief." He did not add a heart. He did not need to. Edward called once. "Just to ask if you are eating," he said. "I am," I said. "Toast and peaches." "Good," he replied. "That combination has saved more lives than we count." The detective left a message saying the case had advanced to a task force. He thanked us for staying available and not oversharing. "You make my job easier," he said. "That is rare." One evening, a bouquet of wildflowers arrived on my stoop with no card. I placed them in a jar and decided to accept beauty without attribution. I opened Thomas's letter one last time. The handwriting no longer looked like a performance. It looked like a man trying to become smaller than his mistakes and failing, then trying again by leaving tools. Not absolution, access. I wrote my own will, a straightforward document with a trustee I trust and gifts that make sense. No riddles, no vaults, no codes in jewelry. If love needs a puzzle, it is not the kind I am willing to work anymore. On a clear morning, I drove to a trailhead and climbed until the city fell small and the sky grew generous. At the overlook, I said the names out loud in the right order. Isabelle, Logan, the child without a name yet, Claire, Edward, Marcus, Rachel, Thomas. Saying them did not fix them. It placed them. At home, I set the sapphire in a shadowed drawer. Not as a relic, as a reminder. My phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. 2 lines. "Crane has gone quiet. Gordon is posturing for a deal with the feds. You are not a target. You are a witness with receipts." I made tea. The kettle sang. I let it. Then I opened a blank page and wrote a new list. Keys, table, kettle, friends who knock, paper that fits. I put the list on the fridge with a magnet shaped like a mountain. Night came. It did not feel like loss anymore. It felt like a room with a door I could open or close. My choice, my hand on the knob, my name on the lease. I slept. Morning came on time. We chose the room, the hour, the chairs, even the water. A hotel conference space with glass walls and a lobby full of witnesses. Marcus at the head. The retired agent 2 seats down. Caleb, the paralegal with a metronome for a pulse, by the door with a clipboard that felt like law. Gordon arrived first, alone but smelling like entourage. Expensive suit, the kind that asks questions only to answer itself. He paused when he saw the glass. Predators prefer curtains. "Sit," Marcus said, not unkindly. Gordon took the chair across from me and Logan. He looked at our hands, empty of rings and full of pens. "You have something of mine," he started. "We have copies of something that belongs to the truth," Marcus said, "and to several agencies with long memories." Gordon smiled without teeth. "You are brave." "No," I said. "We are documented." The retired agent slid a folder across. "A term sheet," he said, "not a contract. A map out of trouble if you can read." It was simple. No contact with me, Logan, or anyone associated. Ever. Outside counsel. Acknowledgement of the sealed trust for the unborn child, and a written commitment not to interfere. A letter of cooperation to the task force, signed within 10 days, delivered by counsel with no midnight edits. Any breach triggers immediate disclosures to tax, banking, and agencies with wider maps. Gordon skimmed, then looked up. "And what do you give?" Unglamorous silence, Marcus said. We do not need a stage. We need peace. Gordon's phone vibrated. He ignored it for 3 beats, then checked. Whatever he saw took 5 degrees out of his posture. Crane will not like this, he said. Crane will like custody, the retired agent answered. He will enjoy it less if he gets it for obstruction. Gordon folded the paper with neat anger. 10 days, he said. Then we are done. No, Marcus corrected gently. Then you start being done. He left. We watched him walk through the lobby like a man who hates daylight. After, the retired agent let out a breath he had been holding since he met us. You two did well, he said. Most people bring volume. You brought structure. Structure keeps me from breaking, I said. He nodded. That too. On the way out, Logan stopped by a florist cart and bought a single stem. For Isabelle, he said. We laid it on the sea wall and watched the tide decide what to do with it. That night, Marcus texted one line. Gordon's counsel asked for the editable file. We sent a PDF. I laughed alone in my kitchen. Some jokes are policy. The threat did not arrive as a shout. It arrived as a car that did not belong on my road. The cottage sat at the end of a lane that turned to gravel, then to quiet. I had been there 2 weeks. The mountain was learning my name. One afternoon, a black sedan crept slow past the mailbox, paused at the bend, then slid away. I called Marcus first, then the retired agent, then the sheriff, because local matters. Could be nothing, the deputy said when he came by. Could be someone lost. People do not get lost in sedans with tinted windows, I said. He agreed and asked if I wanted a patrol drive-by for a while. I said yes. It is not weakness to accept help from a person with a badge and a map. Logan called that night. I can be there in 6 hours, he said. You can be on the phone in 1, I said. It is enough. Rachel's attorney emailed the next morning to say she would comply with the trust conditions, then added a paragraph that read like sugar but tasted like threat. She hoped we could find forgiveness and family harmony. Marcus replied with 3 sentences and no adjectives. Your client will adhere to the conditions. Further commentary is improper. All communications through counsel. That afternoon, a package landed on my stoop with no return address. Inside, a photograph of me and Claire on the porch, taken from the street. No note. I took the photograph to the sheriff. He took it to the detective. The retired agent met them halfway. They spoke in a language made of acronyms and respect. I provided tea. It seemed correct. The detective called that night. You were right to report, he said. We have 2 open federal inquiries and 1 task force. You are not a target. You are a witness. We will make that visible. How? Paper, he said. Protective orders, patrol logs, a notice to counsel that any proximity becomes evidence. People who like shadows dislike paper. 2 days later, the sedan returned and saw the patrol car idling across from my driveway. It kept going. Paper had done its work. I slept. Not deeply, not yet, but I slept. In the morning, I drove to a quiet peak and wrote 5 conditions for myself on an index card, because rules calm storms. 1. Never meet alone. 2. Never improvise with the dangerous or the grieving. 3. Document, then decide. 4. Say less into phones. 5. Open the door only when you mean it. I taped the card inside the cupboard with the tea. That afternoon, Rachel's counsel requested a meeting for closure. Marcus declined. Then he filed for a narrow restraining order. Not dramatic, not permanent, just a paper that said, "This line is real." The judge signed within 48 hours. I pinned the copy to the corkboard and exhaled. Logan texted a photograph from a beach hundreds of miles away. He was holding the small ring with N inside between thumb and forefinger, the ocean in the background like a gentle witness. The next photo showed only water. He wrote, "I chose a place she would have liked." I held the phone against my chest and let both grief and gratitude sit without fighting. That evening my kettle sang. I poured, watched steam lift and thought, I will not be fearless. I will be prepared. There is a difference, and it is enough. The first indictment came on a Wednesday. Marcus forwarded a press release with no commentary, a joint task force charging multiple counts of wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy tied to a cluster of shell companies. The names were not all familiar. Two were. Gordon's appeared near the bottom like a footnote with teeth. Crane's did not appear at all. Sometimes the big names arrive late to parties they planned. Marcus called. "You are not in any filings," he said. "As expected. You are a cooperating witness if needed. If called, we answer. If not, we garden." I bought basil for the windowsill. Logan drove up that weekend. We hiked a small trail and said almost nothing. On the ridge, he pulled a folded paper from his pocket, a letter he had written to Isabelle and never mailed. He read it aloud. It was 3 paragraphs long, kind, precise. He burned it in a small tin and let the ash go on the wind. "Names belong to air sometimes," he said. We set a date for a memorial bench at the community center where the scholarship in Isabelle's name would live. A small plaque. No adjectives, just a name and 2 words. Second chances. Rachel gave birth on a Tuesday. Marcus forwarded a line from her counsel. A boy, healthy. Paternity confirmed without spectacle. The trust's first quarterly note went out with the child's initials and nothing more. I sent a card with 3 sentences. Welcome to the world. You are not responsible for the storms before you. There is a fund for your future. Spend it on books and breath. No signature, none needed. Edward mailed me a book, Essays on Repair, and a note that read, "You kept separate stories from bleeding into each other. That is rare. Keep going." Claire visited for a long weekend. We ate peaches over the sink like college, sat on the porch with our feet on a railing, and made a list titled, Things We Do Not Ignore Anymore. It had 5 lines and 1 laugh that still makes me smile when I remember it. At night, I opened the drawer where the Sapphire slept. I did not wear it. I did not sell it. I kept it as a sentence. Do not build a life that needs a code to be honest. The final letter from Marcus that month was short. Cooperation letter delivered. 10 days observed. Your file moves to a shelf marked Routine Updates. I printed it and pinned it under the index card with my 5 rules. Paper can be a kind of mercy when you have had enough drama for a decade. On a clear morning, I drove to a lake and sat on a smooth rock with my feet in cold water. I said the names again in the right order and felt them become lighter. I wrote a new list before I left. Work I love at a human pace. Friends who come through doors without knocking. Keys that ring like truth. A table that can take a scar. A future I can sign. I put the list in my wallet behind my driver's license. Identity, then intention. When I got home, the kettle sang. I poured tea for one without apology and watched the steam rise like a book's first page. Morning, I knew, would come on time. It always does. This time, it would find me ready to answer it by name. The subpoena arrived on a Tuesday inside an envelope that did not try to impress me. Marcus called before I could open it. Routine, he said. A recorded deposition for the task force. No surprise questions, no theater. We chose a neutral office with frosted glass and good coffee. The court reporter set up her small machine and tested the keys with a music teacher's patience. The lead prosecutor was a woman about my age with the voice of someone who leaves emotion on the other side of the door and retrieves it when she is done. The retired agent sat quietly at the back, eyes on the air, counting beats. State your name. Vivian Carter. Spell your last name. Carter. Carttr. Do you understand you are under oath? I do. They asked about documents, not feelings. When did you first open the garage? How did you access the office safe? Describe the Sapphire clasp. Who was in the room when the box at Federal Trust was opened? Did you alter any files? Did anyone ask you to? No, yes. Sapphire, clockwise to close, counter to open. Logan present, Claire in the lobby. The vault manager provided gloves. We returned everything to counsel. The video from the flash drive? Yes. The words he said? I repeated them without softening. Someone you trust is not safe. He said it was Rachel. He feared she had harmed Isabelle. He stopped at, I cannot prove it. I stopped there too. How are you managing? The prosecutor asked at the end, an off-record kindness cameras could not use. I write lists, I said, and I drink tea. She almost smiled. That works, she said. Thank you for choosing paper. On the way out, the court reporter handed me a small bottle of water. My mother says there are two kinds of courage, she murmured. The kind that enters a burning building and the kind that files the form. We need both. I carried the bottle like a permission slip. The next day, Marcus forwarded a notice. Gordon had signed a cooperation agreement. He would submit to debriefs and provide account keys. The task force used a verb I liked. Unwind. That is what they would do with the money. Unwind it from the corners it had tried to hide inside. Crane remained a shadow. His counsel sent paragraphs that said nothing with elegance. Edward called that night. Depositions exhaust even those of us who do not give them, he said. Eat something with salt. I made toast with butter and a sprinkle of it and felt human again. Rachel sent a message through counsel requesting a brief, supervised meeting for family harmony. Marcus composed a refusal that fit on one line. No meetings, all needs satisfied by existing agreements. He attached the judge's restraining order and a friendly reminder that violations travel poorly in court. I moved through my house with a pen and labeled things not out of grief, but because order felt like oxygen. Box for old photographs. Box for documents to keep. Box for donations. I set the sapphire in a dish and wrote a note to my future self. Not a secret, not a code, a lesson. On Friday, Logan arrived with sandwiches and the habit of knocking that I like. We spread papers on the table and checked the status of the scholarship fund, the trust statements, the community center's bench permit. The word bench made me think of Isabelle's name resting somewhere strangers could pause and feel held for a minute. Are you sleeping? He asked. Enough, I said. Are you? Enough, he said. After he left, I walked the lane and counted dogs, porches, lights. The sedan had not returned. The patrol car still looped by in the evenings. I waved each time and kept appreciating the boring beauty of routine safety. The prosecutor called on Monday with one more question that lived on the edge of law and something else. If Crane reaches out directly, she said, what would you want us to do? Paper, I said. Whatever kind keeps him inside the lines that other people have to live in. She laughed once. We have a form for that, she said. I will file it before he tries to be creative. When I hung up, I wrote 3 sentences on an index card and taped it next to my tea. You did not choose this storm. You did choose your boat. Keep rowing. Calm is a shoreline. That night I slept without dreams. Morning arrived on time. It usually does when you write it a note and mean it. The news about Isabelle had loitered in my bones like weather you can feel but not forecast. A detective from Savannah called on a Thursday. His voice was careful. We reopened the file, he said, based on new information. I cannot promise an outcome. I can promise we will look, and not with the old eyes. Thank you, I said, and meant it. After the call, I drove to a small trail and walked until my ankles understood earth again. I said Isabelle's name out loud so the mountain could learn it. Names should not only live on paper. When I got home, a letter sat on my stoop. Real ink, real stamp. I knew the handwriting before I picked it up. Rachel. I did not open it. I placed it inside a clear sleeve, took a photograph, and slid it into a folder marked Counsel. I texted Marcus, "Received a letter in violation, will deliver." No response from me. He replied with a check mark and a sentence, "We will handle." The following morning, a courier delivered a short apology from her attorney. Rachel would adhere to the order. The letter had been an error in judgment. I placed both documents side by side in a drawer labeled Boundaries. Claire arrived for a weekend that would be mostly laughter and the kind of silence only old friendship can hold without awkwardness. We cooked a meal with more colors than my usual palette, and ate it at the thrifted table that had accepted so many papers and plates as if both were its purpose. On Saturday, Logan called from the community center. "Do you want to help choose the bench?" he asked. I did. We decided on a simple one. Wood that would weather honestly. A small plaque with Isabelle's full name and the words "Second Chances." No dates. Grief knows how to read time without them. That afternoon, the sheriff knocked for a courtesy update. "The sedan has not reappeared," he said. "We have a record of your restraining order in our system. Call if you need anything." "I will," I said. I meant it. There is a dignity in letting professionals do the work they train for while you do the work only you can do. Sleep, eat, testify when asked, and live. On Sunday, I opened Thomas's letter again, not to read it, but to measure its weight. Paper is lighter than a lie and heavier than regret. I placed it back in the folder labeled Access, not Absolution. That evening, my phone buzzed with a number I did not know. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, Marcus forwarded a transcript. Crane's counsel had decided to route communication correctly. They regretted any perceived proximity and would refrain from future contact. The sentence was a performance. The paper behind it was not. It was stamped and filed in 2 courts. I lit a small candle for no reason and watched it burn like something steady and small doing exactly what it should. On Monday, the Savannah detective called again. "We found service records for the car that crashed," he said. "There is an inconsistency that may be relevant. I will update you when we can." I made tea and did not reach for hope. I reached for patience. Hope can ride in the back seat. Patience has to drive. The next day, a thin envelope arrived from Marcus. Inside was the first quarterly report for the Unborn Child's Trust, now for a child with a name. The attorney's cover letter used neutral words and the right pronouns. I wrote a line in a card and sent it, addressed to a future. Books, breath, and time. Spend the fund on those. I signed only with an initial. The point was the paper, not me. That night, I sat on my porch and listened to a fox move through the brush like a rumor you decide not to spread. The sky held stars that did not need witnesses. I thought of all the ways this could have gone differently and chose not to live in any of those rooms. Inside, the kettle sang. I poured and wrote a new list. No secrets that need keys. No dinners at 7 that hide a life at 8. No love that depends on silence. Yes to benches and scholarships and second chances. Yes to doors that lock when I want them to and open only when I mean it. I taped the list next to the others. My kitchen looked like a small museum of decisions that had saved me. Sleep came. It brought no ghosts. We dedicated the bench on a mild Saturday morning. A dozen people gathered. Some knew Isabelle. Some knew only the idea of her. That is enough. Ideas need places to sit, too. The community center director said a few words that did not try to fix anything. Logan spoke briefly, voice steady. "My mother believed in second chances even before she needed them," he said. "This bench is for anyone who needs to stop, breathe, and begin again." He sat. People clapped the way people clap when the point is not applause. After, we stood with paper cups of coffee and watched children draw hopscotch grids with chalk. Logan handed me a small envelope. "For you," he said. Inside was a photograph of the sea. In the lower left corner, 2 fingertips held a ring with N inside. The next frame was the same sea without the ring. On the back he had written, "Letting go is a verb. I am learning it too," he said. We walked to the water and did not say Thomas's name. We did not need to. The tide already knew it. In the afternoon, the retired agent called with an update that sounded like closure without confetti. "Gordon's debriefs are useful," he said. "Crane is circling the drain even if he does not know which one yet. You will likely not be needed at trial. If you are, we will keep it surgical." "Surgical is my favorite kind of drama," I said. He laughed. That evening, Claire and I ate peaches from a jar over the sink like a ritual that survived everything because it required almost nothing and gave exactly what it promised: sweetness, simplicity, a shared spoon. On Sunday, I drove to a wildlife release. Not a hawk this time. A small owl with a face like a question mark. The handler lifted her hands and the bird felt the exact second. Freedom is heavier than fear. We watched it disappear into trees that had been practicing shelter for longer than any of us had been alive. Back home, I opened my notebook and wrote a page titled, "What I Keep." Keys that ring like truth. A table that can take a scar. A kettle that sings. Paper that fits. Names said out loud in the right order. Friends who knock and come in anyway. A bench in a city I left that holds people I love. A mountain that does not need my story to keep standing. I closed the book and put it on the shelf next to the folder labeled receipts and the folder labeled letters. The safe sat below them, quiet, ordinary, useful. Nothing in it needed a code hidden in jewelry. That night, a message from the Savannah detective slid into my voicemail. He spoke slowly, careful with facts. "We found evidence of altered service records on the car," he said. "We are not prepared to make public statements, but privately I can tell you this. Your instinct had merit. We will proceed." I forwarded the message to Marcus and to Edward. I did not send it to Rachel. It was not my task to tell her which paper would arrive next. On Monday, I started a new client project. I set my rate without apology and set my hours with a clock that respected mornings and the way light looks at 9. I wrote, "I do not offer rush. We make things well here." The client wrote back, "Good. The right people always answer correctly." At lunch, I walked to a small overlook where a wooden rail held the history of 1,000 hands. I placed my palms on it and said the last line I needed to say for this chapter of my life. "I am Vivian," I said aloud to no one and to everything. "I am not a secret. I am not a second choice. I am not a code." The wind agreed, or maybe it just moved. Either way, it felt like an answer. I went home and did what healed me best. Boiled water, wrote a list, sent an email, turned a page. Morning would come on time. This time, it would find me already awake. Here is how the story ends, and how it goes on. No chase scenes, no glass thrown, no revenge dress. Just a quiet room with a pen and people who know where to file things. A sapphire clasp turned into a key, and a key turned into a safe, and a safe turned into a folder that said, "You can choose law over lore." A flash drive held a confession in a tired man's face, and a warning about a sister who mistook hunger for a plan. A bench appeared under a tree and learned a name, and a community center learned how to spell second chances. Gordon learned to pronounce cooperation. Crane learned to pronounce counsel. Rachel learned to pronounce conditions. I learned to pronounce my own quiet without apology. There is no pure ending. There is only a clean line. I am done with the rooms where I am not allowed to touch the walls. I will build only rooms where the table can take a scar and the kettle sings on purpose. I will keep paper that fits. I will keep friends who knock and come in anyway. I will keep keys that ring like truth. If you are reading this in the middle of your own quiet disaster, take what you need: a list, a folder, a lawyer who prefers PDFs to speeches, a neighbor who knows how to write a statement, a retired agent who understands seasons better than storms, a bench with 2 words on a plaque that can hold more weight than your shoulders for a minute. Do not be fearless. Be prepared. Do not be loud. Be documented. Do not be perfect. Be honest in writing. Morning will come. Boil water. Sign what is yours. Choose the future you can read without squinting. Then begin again. Next, a winter will reading in a mountain lodge. a gift nobody wants, and a ledger that proves love is a line item or it is nothing. A niece thinks legacy means furniture. The executor brings a tape recorder and a locksmith. Bring your pen.